As space stuff is one of my favorite things, I decided to make my own iceberg. It has 7 levels, which goes from level 1 to level 7, which means from well-known to obscure space stuff. Let's just skip this one. I mean, it's simple surface basic stuff like our solar system planets, the sun, famous astronauts, space is vacuum, Sputnik is first artificial satellite, galaxies, and that kind of stuff. Now we are below the water. We can still see the sunlight, but it's getting dark. Let's begin with a simple one, neutron stars. These little objects are one of the densest objects known to mankind. They are the remnants of a collapsed supergiant star, and by saying remnants I say just 10 kilometers or 6 miles in diameter. But don't be fooled. These things, although they are small, they are dense and weigh more than our sun. For example, our sun is 1,400,000 kilometers in diameter, but it weighs less than 10 kilometers worth of neutron star. That's about as dense as flat earther's mind. Imagine taking one sugar cube-sized material out of neutron star. How much would it weigh? Well, approximately 1 billion tons. If we crushed our Earth into a ball with the same density as neutron star, it would have a diameter of 150 meters or 500 feet, which is similar in size as this new sphere building in Las Vegas. The reason why neutron stars don't compress any further and become black hole is neutron degeneracy pressure and nuclear forces, which keeps gravitational forces in a kind of a stalemate. Of course, if we added more mass, it would most likely turn into a black hole. I'm not sure how much mass it needs, but I read somewhere that anything above 2 suns worth of masses would be enough. Even though it sounds science fictional, but antimatter does exist, and we actually even managed to make some, even though just 1 gram of the stuff may cost trillions of dollars. Scientists believe that during Big Bang there should have been equal amounts of matter and antimatter. However, for some reason our matter won. According to science, all particles should have a corresponding evil twin, antiparticle. For example, electron has positron, proton has antiproton, neutron has antineutron, and so on. When our normal matter touches antiparticles, they both destroy each other with a spectacular bang. Just 1 gram of such annihilation would produce 43 kilotons worth of explosion, which is more than 2 times powerful than Nagasaki explosion. So in theory, if you were sitting in a magnetic vacuum chamber and had a sugar cube made out of antimatter and dropped it into a normal coffee, you would create an insanely powerful explosion. So sugar is not healthy. Previously, when I was talking about neutron stars, I mentioned collapsed stars. Before they collapse, depending on the size, of course, they sometimes explode. These explosions are called supernovas. Our own sun at the end of its life will not explode but simply expand and contract. That's because it is just too small. During these incredible explosions, old lighter elements like hydrogen, helium are forged into new elements, for example iron or even heavier elements. So basically doing complete magic. Iron that is in our blood and many other elements that are in our bodies once upon a time were forged in supernova and other types of explosions that I will talk about later. Supernovas are quite rare. Chance to see one with naked eye probably is 1 in 167 years. Sadly, wormholes, unlike antimatter, are still a hypothetical place. As most of us know, a typical wormhole would usually have 2 spheric holes that would allow faster space travel than going at the speed of light. I swear, every movie did this damn example. You take the pencil, fold the paper which represents space-time, and voila, this is how it works. Scientists don't believe this thing could be possible unless some exotic material would allow it to happen. By exotic material, I mean there would have to be a mass which weighs less than nothing, negative mass. But some scientists believe that for micro wormholes we don't need that. If we send only electromagnetic waves, they in theory could possibly go through. A working wormhole would be, in my opinion, one of the most important discoveries in human history, even more important than pizza. Astronauts who have gone on spacewalks told us that space has a metallic, sweet-burned steak smell. I mean, it's a vacuum, it shouldn't smell like anything, but apparently it does. Also, these astronauts don't just simply open their masks to smell the space, but they can smell right after the spacewalk, when they are inside the space station. This smell oozes from the surface of spacewalk suit. There are some theories, but according to astronaut Chris Hadfield, this is probably because vacuum in space chamber is pulling out trace chemicals out of metal walls of the ship. But as long as this chamber is pressurized, the smell is no longer there, as pressure holds everything back. So the smell is not the space, but from the space effect on the ship. Luis Alamandola, another NASA guy, believes that the smell is from carbons which enter oxygen-rich environment in space station. There are 2 Voyager satellites which currently are moving through space with a golden record inside. These records are identical and works as a time capsule which may be able to be intercepted by another advanced life form. What is fascinating is that scientists had to figure out a way to make symbols understandable, so that the aliens which are not too familiar with British English could understand how to play these records to retrieve data. The data in the discs have audio greetings in 55 languages, various sounds of animals, machinery, weather, music, and also audio files which can be translated into ones and zeros, and that can be translated into images. For example, louder decibel sample level is a darker and the lower decibel is a lighter color. It's hard to explain, but it works as long as the alien has ears or instruments to detect sound waves. Right now, Voyager 1 is 24 billion kilometers or 15 billion miles from Earth. This record is designed to last for over a billion years. The spookiest part is that most likely this Voyager satellite, together with the golden record, will outlive our human race. All these images, sounds, languages will be just a relic of a distant past. We must start level 3 with the fastest pulsar that we have found. Pulsars are basically very fast spinning neutron stars. These pulsars over time slow down and become normal neutron stars, so their dance is not eternal. Well, maybe tens of millions of years. The fastest pulsar, I'm not even gonna try to name it this name. Anyway, the fastest pulsar rotates more than 700 times per minute. Just imagine the power. Object this heavy and small rotates hundreds of times in just one quick blink. The reason why these pulsars are called pulsars is because they emit electromagnetic radiation pulses that we can detect. These pulses are very consistent, making them one of the most accurate clocks in the universe. In 2015, astronomers noticed a bright flash in the sky. It was an incredibly powerful hypernova event which happened almost 4 billion light years away, which means that this explosion happened way before dinosaurs, so the light from the explosion which reached us is older. As a weird example, imagine a dude shouting "I'm alive" very loudly. He dies 1 second later for no reason, but his loud voice is still traveling and he can be heard to distant people, even though he is no longer alive. Terrible example, but you get what I'm trying to say. This explosion is almost called Assassin 15, based on the telescope's names which were used to detect it. It is one of the brightest space explosions like ever. I did talk about supernovas, but they are like babies compared to hypernovas, so how bright was it? Try to imagine a million suns blasting light. Pretty powerful, but wait, there is more. Now copy-paste this big cluster of million suns 570,000 times. Yes, this supernova was 570 billion times brighter than our sun. At its brightest, it was approximately 50 times more luminous than whole Milky Way galaxy, which has approximately 100 billion stars. What the Quasars and blazars are basically the same thing. Both have these strange jets shooting out in both directions. Blazars, however, are shooting their jets directly towards Earth, so they appear to be brighter to us. But what are they, and why they have jets? Well, when Her Majesty Black Hole is having a lunch and is slowly devouring, let's just say, an unfortunate star, well, this star is not immediately gobbled up. In fact, its matter is spinning around the black hole at speeds which are close to light speed. Such feast produces one of the most powerful things in the universe: quasars, an emission powered by black hole. The previous hypernova which I talked about is bright, but quasars, man, they are something else. For example, one was found to be 600 trillion times brighter than our sun, or 1000 times brighter than that beastly hypernova. Not only that, hypernovas shine brightly for several weeks, while quasars may be blasting such light for up to billion years. Such power would be enough to power a single American diesel truck for like 3 days. Okay, let's tone down a little. The energy was going out of hand. Sandwich corned beef. What does this thing have to do with space? Well, during first American crewed space mission in 1965, one astronaut, John Young, had hidden a sandwich in his spacesuit pocket. During space mission, John, with his deadpan face, casually pulled this sandwich out and offered it to his crewmate Virgil Grissom. Virgil found it to be quite amusing. The crewmen each took few bites before hiding the sandwich away. When they got back to Earth, they were reprimanded because a sandwich in space is dangerous. Floating breadcrumbs could mess up electronic equipment, and you don't want that in space. NASA later told future crews not to pull the stunt again. Anyway, other smuggled things were pack of cigarettes, scotch, chocolate, human ashes, a small statue of a fallen astronaut, and few other things. Space jellyfish is a jellyfish which swims in a vacuum and consumes minds of all living beings. Wait, that's wrong wiki article. The actual space jellyfish is a name given to a phenomenon where a cloud of a rocket gas plume is lit by the sun, creating amazing lit shapes in the sky, such as this. This or this. Yet that is one way to get an existential crisis. Even though this is just a hypothesis, it is quite real. As we know, energy cannot be destroyed, however, it can be transferred. Basically, there are places in our universe with more energy and places with less. A second law of thermodynamics states this: heat always flows from hotter to colder regions of matter. Let's say we boil a cup of water. It slowly cools down, energy doesn't disappear. It just moves to a table, air, floor, so it heats up the surroundings. And this heat keeps going until trillions of years later it reaches thermodynamic equilibrium. Slowly, all things that generate heat will fizzle away, leaving us in darkness. But that's only if the universe continues expanding. There are other theories which challenge this one. One of those theories is that our universe will collapse and restart the party. Word paradox is a self-contradictory statement. For example, if I say I am a compulsive liar, which means that I am not a liar, but at the same time, since I lied, it means I am a liar. A friggin' quantum superposition of statement. There is no concrete evidence of aliens, so Fermi paradox questions where are they, considering the fact that chance of intelligent alien life is absurdly high. If the chance is almost guaranteed, then why no evidence? Before you Area 51 me, I am talking about public evidence. There are hypotheses which can challenge Fermi's paradox. For example, zoo hypothesis, which means that aliens are so advanced that we just can't detect them. And they watch us as if we are animals in the zoo, or we are so insignificant to them that they don't even bother thinking about us. Just like we don't think about ants or bacteria. Both theories are equally unnerving. There are star babies called protostars. These are various gaseous clouds in space, preferably mostly made out of hydrogen. Yes, even though most of vacuum in space is almost empty, there are various clouds out there made out of various molecules, just floating. Keep in mind that some of these clouds can be way bigger than even our whole solar system. Eventually, due to gravity, this cloud may start getting denser and create a so-called gravitational collapse. This collapsed thing is now a protostar, which depending on size still doesn't have enough mass to fuse hydrogen. But eventually, after eating enough of the surrounding cloud, it will become a normal star. If you ever found yourself breaking into NASA and getting moon dust samples, just let me advise you don't wanna inhale moon dust. During 6 Apollo missions spanning from 1969 to 1972, astronauts collected 2,200 samples of moon rock, weighing 381 kilograms or 840 pounds. Interestingly, all those samples are now spoiled, due to the fact that all vacuum-sealed bottles deteriorated thanks to moon dust itself. You see, moon has no atmosphere, which means meteor impacts and lack of wind. During billions of years, moon was showered by unimaginable amounts of meteorites. When these things hit moon, they create small-scale melting, or should I say moon glass. This dust is sharp, and due to friction it can quickly damage spacesuits and other equipment. Since it is sharp, it is possible that it would cause lung problems similar to those caused by infamous asbestos. So no, moon is not made out of cheese. Closer would be asbestos. Asbestos cheese. Did you know that it is possible to speak to astronauts while they are in space? We have a huge space base called International Space Station, which is circling our Earth as we speak. Some astronauts in this base like to spend free time talking to radio amateurs called hams. There is more chance of contacting astronauts during weekend.
Mike. Kilo Bravo 8 Mike, NA1SS has you loud and clear aboard the space station. Welcome aboard. Thank you much, 73.
So how these radio amateurs contact space people? Well, they would need to watch when the space station is flying over. Accurately point antenna of FM transceiver towards ISS, which is hurtling at speeds of 8 km per second or 18,000 miles per hour. Also, the most important thing would be luck, because there are many other radio enthusiasts which are trying to do the same. Imagine hundreds of people calling for you in space. It feels like being on a stage in a concert, trying to pick a person to talk with. I just had to add this cosmic body since it has simp in its name. It's a cosmic body similar to Jupiter but 12 times more massive. Strangely enough, even though it is a simp, it's simping for nobody, since it is a rogue planet, which means it is not bound to any star and is going its own way. The largest star we found in the Milky Way galaxy is probably NML Cygni. These stars are immense and are often called hypergiants. It is estimated to be up to 2,700 times larger than our Sun. So if we placed this hypergiant in place of our Sun, it would reach Saturn, which is 886 million miles away or 1.4 billion kilometers away from the Sun. Even though it is very big, it is not that heavy, just 40 suns. The reason why this hypergiant is so big is that it is dying. And as we know, stars at their last moments expand many times, and the Mel signal will eventually collapse and produce a supernova or maybe even a hypernova. I personally was quite surprised that so many space burials actually have happened. It began in 1992 when the NASA Space Shuttle Columbia carried a sample of remains from the guy who created Star Trek, but this sample was returned to Earth. Then in 1996, remains of 24 people, some of them quite famous, were carried into orbit. These remains stayed there for 5 years, then the samples re-entered Earth's atmosphere. We have also delivered the ashes of Eugene Shoemaker to the moon thanks to a space probe. There are actually 3 companies which are into space burial businesses. The actual space burial, the deep space burial, where the ashes do remain in space, were performed in 2006 by NASA. Ashes of a guy who discovered Pluto were sent with a space probe towards the dwarf planet Pluto. White dwarf star is like a neutron star, but way less aggressive. They are bigger, not as dense, not as fast spinning, and less interesting. In simple terms of hierarchy of dying stars is this: if the star is small and dies, it becomes white dwarf. If the star is medium to large, it becomes a neutron star. If the star is humongous, it can possibly turn into a black hole. Even though white dwarfs are not as interesting, they still pack a punch. If you were to stand on the surface of such thing, you would experience 350,000 times bigger gravity than standing on Earth. So if you weigh 100 kilograms on Earth, on white dwarf, you would weigh 35 million kilograms, which would wobble your 3 trunk legs. If you were some sort of invincible person and touched the surface of the star with your hand, it would feel very hard and very smooth. Foo Fighters' name was given to a strange phenomenon which happened during World War II. Apparently, Allied World War II pilots claimed that they saw strange, unidentified flying objects. For example, in 1944, pilots reported seeing fast-moving round glowing balls which were following their aircraft. These objects sometimes looked white, orange, green, or red. Some pilots described them as looking like Christmas lights dancing around the plane, then making a quick turn and vanishing. What is even stranger is that these balls sometimes would fly in a formation. Sometimes these objects even appeared on a radar. There are many other theories and explanations. For example, during the war, pilots may have been fatigued and mistaken a reflection for something weird. Or it may have been an electric discharge called St. Elmo's fire or flock rockets. But how about the radar? They did see these balls with radars, right? Well, even radars can give bad readings, especially the old ones. Today, the largest rocket is SpaceX Starship, which is 121 meters high or 400 feet. It weighs 5,000 tons and has a diameter of 9 meters, 30 feet. In 1962, there was a concept rocket which was a bit bigger, even though not too different in height department, but it was thick. Sea Dragon would weigh more than 3 times, which is insane. Imagine launching a third of Titanic ship into space. Of course, there are plenty of concept rockets. Sea Dragon rocket differs because there was some interest in this project at NASA. What is also interesting is the way it would launch. I'm just gonna show this video. Sedna is a lonely dwarf planet wandering like a lost child in the outermost reaches of our solar system. It is more than 2 times smaller than Pluto. The reason why I added this one to the list is the fact that currently it is at its closest approach to the Sun. And keep in mind that it will approach our Sun again only after 10,000 years, since it is very far away. Also, some people don't know that there are more dwarf planets in our solar system like Eris, Haumea, Makemake, Gong Gong, Quar, I'm not inventing these names, I swear, Ceres and Orcus. The largest structure in space is a wall, but nobody built it to defend from Mongols. It is actually a map of gamma-ray bursts. What are gamma-ray bursts? They are powerful cosmic objects and events like supernovas, neutron stars, hypernovas, collisions, or black holes which create energetic explosions which we can detect even though they are far away. Each explosion releases more power in 0.1 second than our sun will release in all of its life. We mapped all these explosions and came up with a structure of gamma-ray bursts which spans for 10 billion light years. By the way, gamma-ray bursts happen very rarely in our Milky Way galaxy, like once in a couple of million years. Which is great, since they could potentially destroy life on Earth. Since we talk about big things, we just can't leave level 3 Iceberg without talking about the biggest black hole. This thing lurks over 8 billion light years away from us and is estimated to be 100 billion times heavier than our sun. It definitely outangles our own black hole, which is in the middle of Milky Way. By how much? Phoenix A, which is the biggest black hole, is 24,000 times bigger than our dear black hole in Milky Way. Its event horizon has a diameter of 590 billion kilometers or 366 billion miles. Traveling at the light speed, which is the fastest speed, it still would take us over 2 months to go around it. The farthest place in our solar system is Neptune. This makes our solar system have a diameter of 9 billion kilometers. And that black hole is 65 times wider. It makes my head feel weird. Let's go deeper. Even though they have spooky name, ghost galaxies should not be feared. These things are simply galaxies with a small amount of stars. For example, Milky Way has from 100 to 400 billion stars, while ghost galaxies may have just 1000 or even less. These galaxies are ancient and preserved since there is not much matter in them. They almost stopped producing new stars and are like fossils for astronomers, changing very little in billions of years. The most interesting part is that these galaxies also contain 100 times more dark matter, which is a hypothetical matter that doesn't interact with light or electromagnetic field. The only way it interacts is through gravity. There is a theory out there that there might be an intermediary state between neutron star and black hole, a quark star. Scientists believe that if there was even more density involved, even neutron stars would be crushed so much that only quarks would remain. Quarks are subatomic particles, which means it is even smaller than the usual ones, like for example neutrons or protons. Do we have evidence that these stars exist? No, but we did observe a few strange neutron stars which could possibly be these next level powerful quark stars. For example, one is named 3C58 and it is rapidly cooling, which is unusual for a neutron star and quite unexplainable by today's science. For some reason, I want this word uttered by German. Kugelblitz in German language means ball lighting. It is just a theory but still quite entertaining one. Kugelblitz is a black hole but on another level. Instead of being made out of compressed matter, it would be made out of concentrated energy. In maths, it kinda checks out. If we blasted almost unlimited amount of energy into one single location, it could warp space and time just like a good old black hole. If Kugelblitz was real, then it would be the hottest thing in the universe, even hotter than hypernovas or quasars or even temperatures which were present just 1 second after the Big Bang. During wild 1950s, various government organizations in USA were considering possibility of developing rockets powered by nuclear explosions. At first they even thought about launching rockets from surface of the Earth in such way, but later reconsidered since nuclear explosions are a bit dangerous. So how would it work? There were some different designs, but generally it would launch a nuke behind the rocket and use the blast from the explosion to move forward. In theory, if everything worked perfectly, this rocket could reach Alpha Centauri star system in 1000 years. That's quick considering the fact that currently the fastest space probe ever made would do that in 7000 years. Even more theoretical nuclear ships could achieve 10% speed of light and travel to Alpha Centauri in 44 years. Anyway, Orion project was discontinued since it is way too dangerous, and there was partial test ban treaty which banned nuclear explosions in space or on Earth's surface. In 1960s, two Italian brothers which were radio enthusiasts were listening, or should I say intercepting, various radio messages. They managed to do that because they have built a radio tower in their parents' land. Allegedly, they recorded a radio communication taken from secret Soviet space mission, a very distressing one. Many view this message skeptically since this alleged Soviet woman cosmonaut had a strange accent. Also, there were many grammatical errors, more than English errors I made in this video. Also, this woman didn't speak by any protocols used by cosmonauts. However, it could have been easily covered and hidden by Soviet government. For example, Netherlands catastrophe was only acknowledged by Soviets in 1989. Or 29 years later after the accident. The theory is this. Between the surface of neutron star and its inner plasma there should be so-called nuclear pasta, the strongest material in the universe. Of course, if you somehow manage to pull this material outside its star with the legendary spoon, this pasta would convert into a regular matter. By converting, I mean violent extreme radiation comparable to millions of nuclear bombs going every second. Essentially, this nuclear pasta in neutron stars is bound and kept in place by immense gravity, enough to squeeze neutrons so much that there is not much space left between the particles. Imagine a cubic meter of pure solid iron. Even though it looks solid and tough, there still are gaps in atoms in this cube. If we remove these gaps to simulate what's going on in a neutron star, this cube would be barely visible. And nuclear pasta is so compact that in theory it is 10 billion times harder to break than steel. Here's another existential crisis. Universe is expanding. If the space objects, like for example galaxies, are far away, they move away from the observer faster than those which are closer. Eventually, objects which are way too far away, they move away quicker from us than the light, so we can't actually see them anymore. Imagine your friend being 10 million light years away from you. The distance between you would increase at a rate of 210 kilometers or 130 miles per second. If that friend was 13 billion years away, the distance between you would be expanding at the speed of light. If we go beyond that, we can see that the expand speed is beyond the speed of light. Eventually, if the space continues expansion, then we will be left alone in complete darkness, because all other space objects will be too far away for us to see them. But what does universe expand into? No idea, nobody knows. Our planet is not the only cosmic object which experiences earthquakes. Sun, for example, experiences sunquakes when outer shell of Sun quickly shakes, releasing powerful solar flares. These shakes are about 11 on Richter scale, or 10,000 times more powerful than biggest earthquake. But sunquake is not the starquake. Starquakes happen in neutron stars. Due to insane pressures, magnetic field and slowing spin rate, sometimes neutron star crust undergoes a sudden adjustment. This adjustment might be as big as few micrometers and happen just for a fraction of a millisecond. But the power is immense. Bang! And this quick adjustment releases more energy than Sun in 150,000 years. If this neutron star had been 10 light years away, this little stupid readjustment of its crust could have easily wiped life on Earth. Milky Way galaxy is big, diameter of 105,000 light years. But of course there are bigger players in the universe. Until recently I thought that IC 1101 is the largest galaxy. But upon actually reading more, I found out that SO 38376 is the big boss, a diameter of 1,760,000 light years or 18 times wider than Milky Way galaxy. But it might be an inaccurate measurement as with many other cosmic bodies which are far away. If our galaxy has hundreds of billion stars, I wonder how many SO has. Apollo 11 is one of the most amazing feats performed by NASA scientists. It was the first mission that landed humans on the moon. When lunar module was approaching moon, it suddenly started playing alarm, showing that there is some sort of an error with the code of 1202 and 1201. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were confused. During their training they never seen such codes. Imagine you are in a tiny spacecraft approaching a moon and suddenly you hear an alarm that something is wrong and you have no idea what it is.
How's our margin looking, Bob?
It looks okay. We're about 4.5.
Roger.
Eagle looking great. Your go.
Altitude update? Yeah, altitude 1600.
Then a bit later, finally, Mission Control after some time figured it out and told astronauts to proceed with the landing, although alarm kept going on in the background. This error code simply told them that it could not complete all its tasks in a real time and had to postpone some of them. Oumuamua is the first, I repeat, the first interstellar object that we have detected. Interstellar means that it came from another solar system, so that means it came a long way, possibly it was traveling for more than 500,000 years. It is a strange elongated object estimated to be between 100 to 1000 meters or 300 to 3000 feet long. But because this thing wobbles and rotates in various directions, it is hard to say what shape it really is, but it probably is closer to a pancake. Some people believe that it is an artificial object, aka alien origin. The reason is the unusual shape and the fact that it can accelerate, which is nuts. Even though 5 years have passed since the discovery, we are still not 100% sure how can it accelerate without changing its spin speed. There are pulsars, aka spinning neutron stars, and there are pulsar planets which are unfortunate planets that orbit those powerful pulsars. These pulsar planets are extremely rare. Astronomers found just 6. The reason I say unfortunate planets is that they are most likely unlivable due to pulsar stars which give intense radiation enough to strip any atmosphere. One of these pulsar planets could possibly be a planet made out of diamonds. There are theories that some habitable planets could be out there around pulsar, but probably unlikely. During Viking program in 70s, NASA sent space probes to check on Mars' surface. They took photos and one of those photos came back with a menacing face. I like how NASA guy who first got the photos didn't react at all and was immediately logical with it. He said it was just a trick of shapes and shadows. This small hill area was called Cydonia, a similar name to an ancient city. Some sci-fi enthusiasts believe that this is a remnant of ancient civilization of Morse, like some sort of pyramid, but a face. There is also a Gale crater located on Mars which resembles a smiley face. Black dwarf is basically white dwarf star which cooled down over many years. Since our universe is not that old, just 13.7 billion years, that means no white dwarf star had time to turn into black dwarf. The theory is that when white dwarf cools down, it eventually will no longer emit light or heat radiation, basically turning into a dark, dense ball. It is estimated that it would take 100 zillion years for these black dwarfs to completely cool to a chill temperature of negative 273 Celsius or negative 459 Fahrenheit. If an astronaut spends too much time in space, space can make them blind. In space, for example, in ISS, astronauts experience microgravity, which changes human body. Astronauts lose bone density, muscle mass, can get heart disease, puffy face, cancer, and the worst side effect, being taller. Wait, that's pretty good. So space blindness, why astronaut vision goes bad? Eye has liquid inside to preserve its round shape, protects from shock and so on. When people are in space, gravity no longer pulls blood towards feet, so an unhealthy amount of blood remains within the brain and brain fluid presses on the eyeballs. Vision simply becomes blurry. The scary part is that this effect can stay permanent. For those people who don't really follow space programs, this might shock you, but there is a program currently going on which main focus is to bring people to the moon again, and maybe deploy a moon base. 2 astronauts supposedly will land on moon as soon as 2025, so really close. If this does happen, then it would be pretty amazing considering the fact that we didn't touch moon surface for more than 50 years. Artemis space program will land people more than once, and this will be one of the biggest stepping stones for landing on Mars in the future. Since we launched a powerful James Webb telescope into space, we made new discoveries. One of those discoveries is galaxy which not yet confirmed but is the furthest galaxy we found. This galaxy was observed at a distance of 13.7 billion light years, which means we see the galaxy as it was 13.7 billion years ago, basically looking at the distant past, since it has taken the light from the galaxy that long to travel to us. Due to universe expansion, if this galaxy still exists, it is not 13.7 billion light years away, but 36.1, which means that at some point we will no longer receive light from this galaxy, since it is moving faster away from us than the light can reach our Earth from that galaxy. December 11, 1998, astronauts were building International Space Station like it's no biggie. Suddenly, crew noticed a strange object, so they quickly snapped some photos. After reviewing photos, NASA determined that this object is just a part of an insulation blanket that have been broken free from construction of ISS. Obviously, the shape is pretty weird, and this became an object of many discussions. Some believe that this could be an ancient lost extraterrestrial satellite and named it Black Knight Satellite. As of 2023, we haven't seen it again. If it's true and was just a part of International Space Station, then it simply fell back to Earth and burned up in the atmosphere. There were many accidents during space missions, but Soyuz 11 is one of the worst. In 1971, Soviets went after a seemingly successful landed Soyuz 11 capsule. Parachute was on and it landed like a feather. However, when Soviets opened the capsule, but they only saw 3 dead bodies. They laid there motionless, with dark blue patches on faces and blood running out of their noses and ears. What happened was that ventilation valve opened prematurely, even though the capsule was still 160 kilometers or 100 miles away from the surface. So the cabin depressurized and astronauts suffocated and also suffered bleeding due to oxygen and nitrogen in their bloodstreams bubbling and rupturing. This accident gave way for more safety standards, like for example wearing pressurized space suits inside the cabin. As I said before, gamma ray bursts happen during powerful cosmic events. They are so powerful that one which happened 2.4 billion light years away from Earth still managed to affect our Earth's upper atmosphere. It was over 50 times brighter gamma ray burst than usual one. So whoever caused this must have had a ginormous power. It was so bright that it blinded most gamma-ray instruments in space, which made it hard to calculate real numbers. It is considered to be the largest explosion ever recorded by mankind. Energy output by 10,000 suns over their lifespans wouldn't produce enough energy to match this one single badass explosion. Okay, this explosion is way too powerful to be a simple hypernova. It is quite possible that it was in fact a love story between two neutron stars. These two uber-dense objects danced together until merged into a huge bang, releasing a ridiculous amount of energy felt throughout the universe. These merger events are called kilonovas. It is believed that events like these are powerful enough to produce heavy elements like platinum, gold, uranium, and more. So alchemists were right. It is possible to create gold. You just need to merge two absurdly powerful objects. Okay, this has to be one of the dumbest things I have read about NASA. In 1969, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were landing on Moon, this whole ordeal was being broadcasted back to Earth. But since technology was not that advanced, this broadcast couldn't have been done directly to TV sets. First, this signal had to be transmitted to NASA station. But even then, they simply used TV camera to record a NASA TV screen with this raw landing footage. It's like recording a movie with a phone in cinema and claiming it is still 1080p quality. NASA claims that these tapes with raw footage were overwritten in the 1980s because they had shortage of new tapes, so they used some tapes including Apollo 11 ones. So you want to tell me that such important event like moon landing was recorded in much better quality, but you didn't save it and you used it for more important things like Landsat program. I'm not saying here anything, okay? Now this thing is pure science fiction, but nevertheless it may be possible in a very distant future. We need energy, and energy consumption only grows with more advanced technology. In 1960s, a physicist Freeman Dyson proposed the use of orbiting solar collectors. Imagine a hollow sphere with inside walls made out of sun batteries, and in the middle of this enormous sphere, our sun. Obviously, this sphere would have to be big enough for its inner walls to be far away enough so they wouldn't be destroyed by the sun. The amount of material and maintenance needed for such a structure is mind-boggling. Interestingly, there is this one distant star called Tabby's star, which is quite mysterious. It has unusual light fluctuations, meaning it can become 22% darker, and we don't really know why. We have many hypotheses, one of those Dyson sphere. There are plenty unhospitable planets everywhere, but this one is a little bit more mean. Located only 65 light-years away from us, this giant is a little bit bigger than Jupiter. Exoplanet word means a planet outside of our solar system. Anyway, this planet has hypersonic wind speeds of 8,700 km per hour or 5,400 miles per hour. Not only that, but its atmosphere is laced with tiny glass shards. So, if we combine fast wind speeds and glass shards, this equals to not being alive. Also, the temperature inside is 1100 Celsius or 2000 Fahrenheit. Some even call it a moon, but it's just a cloud of dust. This strange cloud is at a similar distance away from Earth as Moon, which is around 380,000 kilometers away. Kordylewski cloud is around 5 times wider than Earth, but since it is made out of tiny dust particles, it is almost invisible. There is not much known about Mars monolith. Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter took pictures of it from orbit and it appears to be a rectangular shape, which is quite unusual. Some believe that this is an alien object, and some believe it's a rock formation. I personally think that Stanley Kubrick has simply misplaced his prop. It's hard to imagine how many secrets and undiscovered stuff there is. For example, there are these newly discovered G objects. These strange gas clouds behave like stars and they are orbiting our Milky Way supermassive black hole Sagittarius A. These 6G objects may be huge stars that at some time merged but were left with huge clouds around them, which gets elongated as soon as they are closer to black hole. When they get further away, matter around these objects contract. It may take them over 1000 years to orbit black hole and over a million years to merge with other stars. Bennu currently is one of the most dangerous objects that we know of. It's an asteroid, which has 1 in 1700 chance of impacting Earth in year 2182. It's a half-kilometer asteroid capable of causing 1200 megaton explosion, which is 24 times more powerful than most powerful nuclear weapon. But 1 in 1700 chance is not that big when compared to 99942 Apophis, which at one point had 2.7% chance of hitting our Earth. It also happened quite recently, in 2004. Thankfully it missed us. Scary part is that according to NASA, we may not notice some asteroids, and even if we do, it would take us 5 to 10 years to prepare. I'm not mad guy, so I can't technically disprove or approve white holes. These theoretical objects are like good twin of a black hole, but I am skeptical. I am team black hole. Where are these white holes, huh? Anyway, these things supposedly work similar like black hole but reverse. Nobody can enter them and they emit light and matter. Some believe that these white holes could form after black holes no longer can suck things in. So they vomit everything they took back. I did a dedicated video for this one if you want to know more. But the premise is this: our big galaxy Milky Way is being gravitationally pulled by something massive. At first we thought it was a normal cluster. Cluster simply means a structure made out of thousands of galaxies bound by gravity. But later we found out that there is something even bigger and more powerful further away, which is actually pulling a normal cluster itself. AKA, there is always bigger fish. We believe that this is a Laniakea supercluster, which is like a cluster but on a different scale. It may have 100,000 galaxies under its command, so such mass is able to move normal cluster and of course our own galaxy. The theory is that everything in the universe that has energy is unstable and wants to get rid of this instability. For example, a stone on the hill is unstable. It rolls down the hill, releases energy and becomes stable on the ground. But what if this ground is not stable and there is a deeper ground level? Some scientists named it false vacuum, even though this has nothing to do with actual space vacuum, but more with a quantum particle state. If this vacuum decay starts anywhere in the universe, then it is possible that such effect will spread to infinity at the speed of light. Such powerful bubble of newly found power will devour anything in its path: stars, galaxies, black holes, everything. Not only that, but normal physics wouldn't apply anymore. Space is just like a big agar.io game. There is a term for it: galactic cannibalism. It's typically when a larger galaxy, due to gravitational pull, invites smaller galaxy for a visit and then it gobbles it up. Even our neighbor Andromeda galaxy, which we will meet at some point, has left some evidence of previous mergers. Evidence suggests it ate at least 2 times, 5 and 8 billion years ago, and now it has its sights on the big game, us. These galaxies will clash in 4.5 billion years, and since Andromeda is 2 times larger than Milky Way, I dare to say that we will be part of it. And before judging Andromeda, keep in mind that currently we, Milky Way galaxy, are ourselves consuming a dwarf galaxy called Sagittarius dwarf. This little galaxy, which is 10 times smaller, is currently being merged into our galaxy, so we are guilty as well. Crazy part is that even though Andromeda and Milky collision will be massive, The gaps between cosmic bodies are so vast that it is unlikely that any stars will collide, but the black holes which reside in both galaxies will merge for sure, creating energy equivalent to 100 million supernova explosions. As you know, I am a black hole connoisseur, so even though I did mention black hole merger, I want to elaborate more. Even though black holes are invisible, when they collide, they give off specific gravitational waves that scientists can filter out of other space noise. First time the merger was proven when in 2015 LIGO Observatory noticed two relatively small black holes with a mass of around 30 suns merging into one. This one small bloop caused cataclysmic legendary power, which was more than the combined power of all light radiated by all the stars in the observable universe put together. All light energy from septillions of stars were no match for the merger of these two tiny black holes. I don't even dare to imagine black holes billion times larger colliding. Here's another cataclysmic event, but on much smaller scale. In year 1859, our dear Sun released one of the most powerful coronal mass ejections, which headed straight towards our Earth. At the time, an amateur astronomer, Richard Carrington, was watching and documenting Sun's dark spots. Suddenly, a bright flash temporarily blinded him and caused the most powerful geomagnetic storm in recorded history. At the time, there were not many electronic devices, but there were, for example, telegraph systems which went down. Some operators, fearing for their systems, disconnected batteries, but due to intense auroras, telegraphs worked without batteries. If such event were to happen today, the damage would be horrible, probably in tens of trillions of dollars. Some people don't know, but in 2012 a similar solar flare happened, but thankfully it missed our Earth by 9 days. Everything around us appears to exist in 3 dimensions: width, height, and depth. Some physicists, however, believe that reality is not what it seems. They believe that we actually exist on 2-dimensional plane and all this information is projected in 3 dimensions. The reasons are that black holes and quantum mechanics breaks our physics in 3D world, but in 2 dimensions these laws make more sense. We know for sure that in the middle of our galaxy lies a big, well-fed black hole, but did you know that there might be more than 10 million micro black holes hiding in Milky Way galaxy? It is quite a terrifying fact, but why do we think that? Well, size and probability. For example, NASA's Hubble Space Telescope found a lone black hole traveling aimlessly. Even though it is invisible, since it's not consuming matter, its existence came to light because of gravitational lensing. We simply noticed light bending near this ninja black hole, but even though it sounds scary, fear not, our galaxy is ridiculously big, 105,000 light-years wide. More than enough to make it improbable for us to meet a black hole. For more than 60 years we kept sending rockets and satellites into space. Non-functional spacecraft, various rocket stages, unburned rocket fuel particles, explosive bolt leftovers, and even paint flecks are considered to be space garbage. The Kessler syndrome means that eventually all this garbage can create a cascade effect where one garbage hits another, shatters it into 1,000 pieces, those pieces get more garbage and it goes out of control. Eventually, the distribution of debris in orbit could render space exploration and even the use of satellites impossible for many generations. But why garbage is dangerous? Simply the speed. Even a paint fleck can be extremely powerful when it is flying through a vacuum at a speed of more than 4,000 km per hour, which is 25,000 miles per hour. Here is a front window of Space Shuttle Challenger. At these incredible speeds, even a speck of water could do similar damage. We found a radio signal which repeats every 22 minutes like clockwork. And I'm not talking about radio signals like those which play songs, rather simple radio wave. Normally, it would be a spinning pulsar, however, they have to maintain a high spin speeds to keep spinning, but if they go slow and this thing which repeats the signal is beyond slow, they would be slowing down quickly, lasting maybe few years, eventually not being able to produce a radio signal. However, this object is almost not slowing down and is pumping that radio signal for more than 30 years. Most people believe that this is a magnetar, a neutron star with a stronger than usual magnetic field. Magnetars are very rare. We know maybe 36 and they are rare since their magnetic power only lasts for up to 10,000 years, a short period of time in universe. One magnetar is rather close to us, around 20,000 light years away. In 1998, for some reason, it gave a powerful gamma-ray burst which ionized our Earth's atmosphere at night as much as our sun during the day. I did cover Fermi's paradox, why there are no aliens, even though statistically it should be possible. One of those theories is a bit scary and it is called the Dark Forest. The theory is that there are many alien civilizations, but they keep quiet, just like predators when they stalk their prey. They also may keep silence in order to not attract other hostile and undetectable civilizations. So this gives me creeps. We look at the sky and nobody's answering or sending signals, as if there is some sort of an evil presence that they are trying to avoid. These civilizations that we are sending signals, well, they may be silent now because they are wiped out of existence. In one book called The Forge of God, author compared us to a baby crying in the forest, wondering why no one answered, drawing down the wolves. We found the most powerful electric current in a distant space. Scientists called it 3C303. This giant current has crazy amount of amps, which is equivalent to trillions of light bolts happening simultaneously. This current is powerful enough to expand through numerous gas clouds and form a jet which is longer than our entire galaxy. Well, obviously, the culprit is most likely a supermassive black hole generating powerful magnetic field thanks to its accretion disk. Prepare your mind to be blown. Our telescopes, even though they are big and capture stunning sky imagery, they are not really powerful for us to explore cosmos more intimately. As we know, most of telescopes work by using curved mirror. This shape gathers, or should I say catches, small light and focuses it to the viewer. Since our eye is small, it gathers small amount of light and we don't see shit. Thankfully, telescope helps us with that. Now the biggest telescope in space is James Webb Telescope. This thing has 6.5 meters or 21 feet wide mirror. The wider mirror or lens equals to more light collected. So here's the catch. Space objects create a gravitational lens which bends light. So if the object is heavier, it will bend and collect more light. The perfect such lens would be a black hole, but we don't have one close to us. Some scientists believe that we could use the gravitational field of the sun to magnify light. We would just need to know the place of the observed object and also place our own light collection probe in the right location. Between those two objects, our sun would act like a huge lens. If this actually worked, then I suppose our planet can also be watched secretly. Photons are particles which comprises waves of electromagnetic radiation. Some of this electromagnetic radiation is visible light. What is interesting is that even though they appear to us as if they are traveling at the speed of light, which is almost 300,000 kilometers per second, to the photon itself, time doesn't exist. They simply don't experience time. For example, sun shoots photons at our Earth. Generally, it takes 8 minutes to reach our planet. However, from their point of view, it happens instantaneously. It's zero time elapsed between the photon when it is emitted and absorbed. Here's some cosmic horror. As we know, black holes can capture light, so in theory, if you are falling into the black hole, time for you feels normal. However, elsewhere in the universe, time starts to go fast. The closer you get to the event horizon of the black hole, the faster you will see the time pass in the outside universe. We are constantly bombarded with background microwave radiation. According to scientists, this radiation is as old as the universe itself, since it is a remnant of the Big Bang. Also, it comes from the universe, so we can map all the observable universe thanks to the microwaves. This map is pretty much even. Even those cold spots that you see here on the map differs from hot regions minusculely. The weird part is that our solar system divides cosmic background radiation sphere into two halves, upper, slightly hotter than the lower, which is insane, because this would make our solar system to be significant, like a main hero in a story, as if we were the center of the universe. It's also strange because this cosmic radiation existed long before our solar system. The reason why it is called axis of evil is that it threatens modern cosmology and our normal understanding of cosmos. But some scientists believe that this could be just a data error. Did you know that our space station, which is one of the most inhospitable places, is actually having a mold problem? A new study shows that mold spores are present inside the station and may also survive on the outside walls of the spacecraft. Outside, in vacuum, in direct ionizing radiation, no air, no water, which is incredibly strange. When scientists exposed these spores to all kinds of radiations like X-ray, ultraviolet, heavy ions, they seem to shrug it off, which means that they may possibly survive space travel. It is believed that this is a serious issue since if we were to travel to other planets, these spores may contaminate pristine environments. This type of contamination is called panspermia. When organism is delivered through space body, spaceship, asteroid or space dust. Makes you think if this was the way life came to Earth. There are many videos taken by military which involve unidentified flying objects. That's right, in this day of age, various detectors and devices were unable to tell what we see. In 2004, a fighter plane pilot noticed a strange object which suddenly descended from 24-kilometer altitude to 6 kilometers and stayed there hovering. The pilot says that as he spiraled down to get closer to the object ascended mirroring the trajectory of this airplane, until the object, poof, disappeared, as if it was mocking him. Moments later, another pilot took a fighter jet with advanced infrared camera and was able to capture this video. Then there are also these two videos which were captured by pilots about a decade later.
Dude, this is a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating. Nickel 6-1 Tango, Roger, over. Oh, got it! Woohoo! Roger, they're troubleshooting. What the fuck is that? Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at it fly!
When this video surfaced, USA government had to acknowledge that these videos are in fact real. However, during their report, Pentagon was unable to explain what these objects are. Later, there were more videos captured by military. This one was filmed by Mexican military pilots. David Fravor, a pilot who witnessed one of the encounters, said, "Technology that we faced was far superior than anything we had."
In front of us and disappeared. Our wingman, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the whitewater was at, and it was gone also. So as we started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cat point, roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute." You can calculate the speed.
It is estimated that 2004 UFO did insanely powerful maneuvers exceeding hundreds and possibly thousands of G-forces, enough to instantly kill human pilots, which are able to withstand up to 12 G-forces. So my friends, I salute you for sticking up with this long ass video till the end. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned something interesting. I dislike conclusions, so